Welcome back, everyone, to Just Football, Not Soccer. So, Miko and I were just having a laugh before, so forgive us. So, in today's topic, we want to talk about players, soccer players, talking on social media. And I'm going to give you an example which spurred this conversation, and we'll dive deeper into this because Miko and I obviously have our own opinions, and we'd also like to get yours. So, before we get into it, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave your comments in the comment section. So, if you follow the English Premier League, you would have seen that there was a tweet that went out by Marcus Rashford. He had commented on one of the Manchester United fan channels called the United Stand, where the United Stand were releasing a video that day, and their thumbnail essentially was alluding to the fact that, or it said, Marcus Rashford's future in doubt. And he commented on that as the player or his team that represents him or that manages his Twitter account or X account, and said, please stop posting malicious lies or news, essentially trying to allude to the point that what they were saying was completely malice and incorrect. But if you actually go and watch the video, it has nothing to do with that. They were just referring to the point that a player like Garnacho now, who is getting more regular game time, is actually a better player than Marcus Rashford in some people's opinions. And the thing is, for Rashford to go and comment on the post and to try back himself or represent himself, I understand that if he was scoring goals and if he was performing on the pitch. He hasn't performed on the pitch for at least the second half of last season, where he had one of his best seasons. But if you actually look at his current season now, he scored 1 goal in 14 games. So a lot of the media and the outrage was very split between the fans as well as what the mainstream media like Talksport and them were saying. So a lot of the fans were saying, you have no place to speak and comment here because you haven't been performing on the pitch. And a lot of people were saying, no, he had every right to defend himself. But this alludes to a problem that I think you and I have touched on previously with regards to player power, where you've seen many times at clubs like Manchester United, at Chelsea, at Real Madrid, at PSG, where the players have the power. And what I mean by that is when a team is not performing, all the blame gets placed onto the manager. And it's often the manager that gets fired or sacked, and the players remain. And if you look at a club like Manchester United, where they've had Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ralf Ragnick, and now Erik ten Hag, and we're starting to see the same repetition. And it speaks to the modern day player. These players, for example, Marcus Rashford is getting paid £350,000 a week, and he's not performing. So the question is, instead of focusing your time on social media, you should be focusing your attention on the football pitch, where you're getting paid to do. Let your football do the talking. Don't go comment on a random social media post and to try and get people to go like and have some clickbait. But that's not my opinion. This is the opinion that's come out of it. So before I give my opinion, I want to get your take, Miko. So I know you're obviously very much into the Italian league, and Juventus is your team. And we did speak about some of the players in the past when they come out, when they're leaving the club, and they have bad things to say. But let's talk about the point of player power and players going on social media and posting all these things and not actually reading the room. Like when a team loses, they go out and they go and party and they post it on social media, or they'll post a picture on social media of them playing the game. Or the fans go there, they pay a lot of money to go watch these games, and the fans feel like these players just don't care and they don't know what it means to wear that badge. And I think it's the conversation of old players versus the old school players, which we all came to love, and the way in which they would work. So, what is your opinion on that? And I mean, like, I'm sure you have a certain scenario that comes to mind.
Yeah, Mikey. I believe going to the point of the old players and modern players. I believe that there is no big difference, to be honest. Just nowadays we have social media, we have more attention of all these players. We have cameras everywhere. Even during the match is different now because you have every single camera on you. How many cameras there are on you, and they see everything.
Mhm.
And before wasn't like that. I believe that more than the players, the responsibilities of the club. The club should set the rules. Because you mentioned, yeah, Juventus, no, the Italian league, Juventus, that I'm very into, the Italian league, Juventus especially. But since I have memory, I don't remember that a player was the star in Juventus against the club or against the coach. Juventus was always the most important figure. Okay, so if a player was behaving bad, was doing something like Marcus Rashford, for sure that the week later he will be on the bench and probably at the end of the season out of the club. So
Yeah.
that's important. The club, also the history of the club is very important. I guess nowadays, going to Manchester United, um, you don't feel the history. This new ownership, they don't understand the history of the club, and also especially the players. All these players, they don't really care about the jersey as before. And if you see today they play Champions League. Marcus Rashford was off of
Yeah.
got a red card, right? And United was winning 2-0. They lost 3-2. What's going to happen tomorrow to Marcus Rashford? I believe nothing. And Tenag, I guess he doesn't really have the balls. He wants to show that he's like a super coach with the big balls. He was good to leave Ronaldo on the bench. He had very nice words about Marcus Rashford last week about the situation you're just describing. So, who is more responsible, players or the football clubs?
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. So, what you're talking about, and going back to one of the best managers of all time and the best player manager, which was Alex Ferguson, where he always said, "There's no player bigger than the club. The minute a player
Right.
thinks he's bigger than the club, he's out." And it happened with David Beckham. It happened with Jaap Stam. It happened with Ruud van Nistelrooy. The minute the player thinks he's better than the happened to Roy Keane, the best Manchester United captain ever. And I know a lot of us would think of what the situation at PSG with Kylian Mbappe, the power that they gave Mbappe, where he was actually involved in selecting which players were coming in. The
True,
clubs
true,
are at fault. It's the ownership that's at fault. The
true.
managers can only instill a certain culture, but it comes from the top. You never see these issues at Manchester City. You never see these issues at like the likes of Real Madrid, these top clubs where they have top ownership, where anyone that thinks they're too big for their boots,
Yeah, man.
they're
Even Juventus, if you see the case of Bonucci, Leonardo
yeah,
Bonucci, Bonucci was the captain of Juventus. Bonucci was in Juventus for years. And where is he now? Union Berlin. Juventus is still there, and the coach is still there. So I guess Manchester United has a lot of responsibility right now.
yeah. But I think you struck a good point there, and I think it comes from the top and it stems down, and it must be a cultural thing. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing that used to happen back in the day was obviously within a change room or within a team, you will have the older players, the younger players. And there's generally a good mix of both, where the older players take on leadership positions. There's not only a captain that's the leader. There's various, like if you look at a team like Manchester United currently now, it'll be Bruno Fernandes, it'll be Rafael Varane, it'll be Casemiro, it used to be De Gea. The older players that will call out the younger players. But the problem is now is that I think players are either too scared to call their teammates out, or but if they do call them out, a lot of these guys are soft and they're allowed to impact them as opposed to motivate them. And I think it stems into their social media. Like, for example, when you see your team lose, like for example, Man United, we get thumped by Liverpool last season, 7-1, whatever it was. Then you see
But
guys posting,
if you mention Manchester United now, when you see the team lose every week,
yeah, yeah, no, exactly.
that's
I mean, it's actually it's funny that you say that. I think I'm taking a what we would call a hiatus from watching Manchester United. It's not good for my mental health. So I'm going to be watching a lot of other sports now. Maybe some American football because I have zero clue what's going on there. So I can't have my feelings hurt. But you're right. The Bonucci one I remember and I recall, and I think this. is the demise of football clubs. And this is where you often see fans supporting players and not supporting the club. If you know what I mean, you get player FC as opposed to, and you like you said with Juventus, you won't see that happening where people will favor Pogba, like when he was there before he got banned, or whatever players were there. You support the team for the badge. You don't support the team for the player. And I think the modern day fan, the younger generation, because of social media, they feel a lot closer to the players and they can relate to them. I think this affection for these players, it's natural. We're in a different age. And I think a lot of people also need to understand that times have changed. We need to keep up with the times. But there's a level of respect and there's a level of discipline that needs to be maintained in order to reach the highest levels in football. And Manchester United hasn't reached that level for 10 years now. And they won't. They won't because the mentality in that club is very weak. And I think they need to look to clubs like Juventus and Real Madrid and Bayern Munich, for example. I'm reading Pep
Yeah.
Guardiola's book now, from the time he was at Bayern Munich, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The respect in which he had garnered, the respect that he got from the fans was incredible. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that today. Miko,
Yeah.
anything else you want to finish off before we close
I
out?
just want to say that all these players, they nowadays they earn a lot of money, right? And they're like a very crime babies, and yeah, and I believe that all these football clubs, they had to put boundaries, you know. And what I see in Italian football clubs, they really set the rules and they control the players. So that's very important. They don't want you to go. There are a lot of coaches. They don't want you to go parties after the match or before the match. They don't want even you to have sex same day of the match.
Anything like that?
Yeah, so there are a lot of rules. If you set the rules, you have players following the rules. I guess you create a very very healthy balance. And not everybody is willing to do that, and I believe Manchester United is one of those.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. They prioritize the commercial side of the players, and they made sure that the players that pulling the most social media followers that will sell the most shirts, as opposed to the quality and the mentality of the player.
Yeah.
Okay, Miko, we've come to the end of another episode. Just football, not soccer. For those of you that are watching for the first time, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will be coming out with additional content later in this week. Miko, thank you again, brother. Take care.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mikey.
Take care,
Bye.
guys.
Ciao, ciao.